As old and new gamers alike, we all love playing video games, but the absolute best moments in gaming, for me at least, tend to be the most laugh out loud, oh my god, my stomach hurts from laughing so hard kinds of moments that sometimes randomly occur with my best friends in epic online campaign co-op games. Now, it can happen when a random enemy is just massively overkilled, or when a fellow player goes full on So, today on Get This, we will be talking about 10 of the best online campaign co-op games to play with your friends. Before we get started, as always, we're going to need to talk about some ground rules that are going to make everyone wanna...
God damn it, Leroy!
Get this. Every game in this list must be a real co-op game, where each person can play the entire campaign in co-op mode with at least one friend, not some rando on the internet. So we're sorry, Devil May Cry 5, but this is not co-op. Also, we need to mention that online multiplayer first-person shooters are not exactly co-op games, because while they may have cooperative aspects in, example, Capture the Flag or Team Deathmatch, these aren't actually co-op campaigns with a full story, and therefore are not eligible. So be sure to stick around till the end of the video, because we have some pretty great honorable mentions in this one, and our pick for number 1 may actually really surprise you. Titles can also not still be in early access, so sorry Outlast Trials, Sons of the Forest, and Valheim. Oh, and Beat Rising as well. In fact, let us know in the comments if you guys want to see us do an early access games list. Next, just because we're assholes, each game must have at least partial controller support. No explanation needed. Each game must have modern graphics, and we know that this can get a little tricky here because that can be kind of subjective, but basically anything older than 10 years ago isn't going to make the cut, and we think that's pretty fair here. If we missed a game, and chances are we did, throw it down in the comments, but don't just leave it there. Interact with us and tell us why you felt we missed something critical. Oh, and one more thing. The games on this list are being ranked by how good they are as co-op games, not how good they are as single-player experiences. So some of these games, even near the top of the list, might actually be pretty lame to play by yourself. Remember, at Get This, we take lists seriously. Okay, let's actually get into the real reason you guys are here now. Coming in at number, actually, we are gonna have to give this one an early honorable mention. Payday 3. That's right, you heard me correctly. Payday 3 was just launched, and while it has some awesome game modes, and games with a 4-player team co-op are pretty rare, but it just kind of remains to be seen how this game will do post-launch with bugs and overall quality of life features. As of the time of this recording though, this game is an excellent sandbox style game where you can make your own fun, and the game doesn't really restrict you too much. Like, you can trade hostages to revive dead teammates, or just shoot the hostages to grief your whole squad. What makes this game stand out though is the little details. Cops won't just spawn in and come after you. They will rappel down buildings and slide under garage doors. The goal here is to be the most efficient bank robbers you can be, but oftentimes it's fun to just throw caution to the wind and grief your teammates by being that guy. Payday 3 is what you get when you combine CSGO with Left 4 Dead and Grand Theft Auto. The game has some visual jank at times, but then it also has some really impressive visuals. Like, at the same time, this game stays in this weird balance here. And we think this game is extremely fun, and the only reason it's so low on this list as an honorable mention is because it's so early that it's hard to say how much of the community will actually appreciate this one. There's just one other thing we wanted to mention here. It's not technically a campaign co-op, but it kinda is. The way the game handles missions is basically you select a mission from the menu and you just play it, and there will be a cutscene beforehand, but it's not like there's any real kind of story here. I don't know. Why don't you guys sound off in the comments below on this one, and just tell us if it should really make this list or not. Number 10, Monster Hunter Rise, Sunbreak. Monster Hunter Rise, or Monster Hunter Sunbreak, depending on if you were playing the DLC or not, is an excellent Monster Hunter game, and if you have played these games before, you know they are excellent as co-op games. But in the past, they may have suffered from a bit of quirky co-op systems like in Monster Hunter World and Iceborne. Monster Hunter Rise and Sunbreak fix these issues and add the wire bug mechanic to the game, which is a much needed quality of life improvement. Basically, Capcom has just been making the same game over and over again, but this time they have really refined the formula and it really shows in the co-op mode. There's just way too much to get into here, but the key takeaway is that this is the best co-op experience yet in a Monster Hunter game. Number 9. Dying Light 1 and 2. Dying Light 1 and 2 have an excellent story and co-op experience. I am mostly going to be talking about the second game here though, as the first is a pretty satisfying but very linear experience. The second game is a game where choices absolutely matter, and it's tough to say what the best decision is because there's a lot of gray area in each choice. But what is more impressive is the fact that you will feel the consequences, and entire groups of characters will as well. There are a number of things needing to be fixed still, like bad netcode sometimes causing desync issues, and it would be great if there was shared progression. And we just need to say something here. Host-only progression is kind of the bane of every online co-op gamer's existence. But if you can get over those issues, the Dying Light series is one of the best stories for killing zombies you're ever gonna play. Just a warning though. These games are not exactly for the faint of heart, both in terms of platforming gameplay as well as in story content and imagery. These are dark, sick, sad world type of games, but if you're into that, well, then you'll be right at home with the gritty tone of these games. Look, a lot of reviewers gave Dying Light 2 a pretty average review score, and we kind of see where they're coming from in some ways. But at the same time, we are recommending this game for a campaign co-op playthrough, because it's a good journey and sense of accomplishment to beat these games with a friend. Not to mention, slaughtering endless hordes of zombies is so crunchy and fun with the new weapon mod systems. Oh, and by the way, Rosario Dawson and the other voice actors in this game gave some great performances. Bottom line, the first game is a fun co-op action game, but not an amazing story. Whereas the second game takes the storytelling up a notch, but the gameplay may seem a little repetitive by the time you're done. So, just a heads up for the people who can't stand repetition in gameplay loops. Number 8. Outriders. Oh man. Outriders. So this is a third-person looter shooter, which that term in the games industry can often lead to people turning up their nose a bit, and yeah, we get it, because it sounds bad. But in this case, it's not, like, at all. Looter shooters tend to fall into the endless grind of gameplay mechanic, but I think Outriders actually has an excellent progression system. I watched a few reviews on this game, and I really think this is one of those games where the reviewers kind of got it wrong, especially when it comes to the DLC. Not because they are doing a bad job reviewing games, but because they are reviewers and they critique things that didn't really need to be critiqued, because this game is just meant to be fun. Like, story-wise, it's a pretty cool concept overall, and they do a good job with letting you get into the background and lore of the game through picking up and reading optional notes, but they're entirely optional. Some of them are really worth reading too. But you definitely don't need to even watch the cutscenes to have a good time here. Honestly, I am a little surprised this game wasn't a bigger deal. It had some issues at launch, but no game is perfect. Well, there is one on this list that comes damn close, but Outriders is just a fun new IP with excellent world building, and the DLC is pretty great too. I kind of wonder if people got so burned out by Anthem they didn't expect much from Outriders somehow, but anyways, back to Outriders. This game is just plain fun, especially if you can get 3 people playing at once. The art team and game systems team are top notch here. Customizing your guns and armor and making your character builds here is a little mathematical in some ways, but it's also really great when you figure out what works. Hell, there's even times where certain builds will just make you OP to the point where you just break the game. And usually that's bad, but here it's just fucking fun. If you haven't already, you need to check out Outriders, especially if you have a couple people to team up with. Coming in at number 7, we have War Tales. Now, I am oddly excited to talk about this game because while it isn't some crazy AAA blockbuster title, it's a game that has a lot of interesting ideas and mechanics, a lot of content, and is a lot of fun. In fact, I can't go over everything here in such a short time, but I am gonna try. One of my favorite genres is the turn-based strategy genre, thanks XCOM and Front Mission, but one of the issues with turn-based strategy games is usually co-op is either never a thing or is implemented in a rather weird way that feels very limiting. There's very few tutorials here, if any, so you're gonna need to figure out how to do nearly everything aside from the most basic combat on your own. Oh, and by the way, before we go any further, permadeath is on from the start. Positioning these kinds of games is key, but also knowing your character's pros and cons will really help too. Plus, this game also gives you a lot of freedom in choosing between main quests and side quests, and in how you set up camp, do your inventory management, and level up your warriors. In War Tales, you don't just manage 2 characters, you start out with 2 characters. In fact, you can easily get a pretty large squad going during the game, but what's cool is that each person is responsible for playing multiple characters. You each will start out with 2 mercs in your squad and customize each character, but character creation is simplistic, so you won't be overwhelmed. So, an example, you can have up to a 20-person squad where each player is controlling up to 10 of the characters, and on top of that, you get to choose at the beginning of the game if you want to play a campaign with individual region-locked levels, or if you want to have an adapted to your current level full open world experience. AAA devs could learn a trick or two from this very smart design, because it makes it so you can play by level in a solo campaign and adaptively in another co-op playthrough, or vice versa. It's a really interesting system, but on top of that, choices are deeply compelling and actually matter in this game. And there's a lot of gray area in what is the right choice to make, in almost like a Dying Light 2 kind of way, where it's going to be consequences no matter what. We understand that on the surface this game might not appeal to a large number of gamers, but we also want to say that even if you typically don't like these kinds of games, this one's very engaging, and you will probably find at least something you love here, especially because of how different it is from the norm and how much you will need to cooperate together. There's a lot of weird and fun little details in the mechanics that we don't want to spoil, but the overall takeaway is that this game is for sure punching above its weight, and the devs need to be recognized for it. And that's why we gave this one just a little bit of extra shine in the spotlight. Number 6. The Gears franchise. We covered this game in our best local co-op games videos, so we aren't gonna go too deep on this, but if you haven't seen that video and you want a more in-depth look at why Gears of War is still one of the best co-op third-person cover shooters even in 2023. Click here. The devs at the Coalition were pretty ahead of their time, to be perfectly honest, with Gears of War doing a lot and offering a substantial amount of content, but still keeping the overall gameplay loop simple enough for anyone to pick up and play with a buddy online. And going through the campaign in this game is a game you will be sure to remember playing with your friends, because this is one of those multi-platform games that sees a lot of love on consoles, and PC gamers tend to be a little more reluctant to play. But we definitely think if you have missed this one and you were looking for a solid co-op shooter, you should check it out. Alright, just a little sidebar here. You may not believe this, but the number 5 spot was really difficult to decide on for this list. It went back and forth between heavy hitters like Back 4 Blood, Sniper Elite, and even Elden Ring. More on that later. But without further ado, here's number 5. The Division 2. The Division 3 was just announced, and nobody seemed to care because they announced the game on Twitter, and it was just a tweet. Like, we didn't even get a trailer. Seriously, what did they think was going to happen here? Anyways, The Division 2 has been out for 5 years, and they are still making content for this game because it's a live service game, which live service games aren't exactly gamers' favorite things in the least. But here's the thing. When reviews came out for this game, it got pretty decent scores. Hell, IGN even gave it an 8.5. And while there have been some issues with this game in the past, after 5 years, it's got some pretty polish on it. I mean, the game has always looked great, but now it should look great to gamers, especially if you missed this one when it came out. There's a ridiculous amount of content here, and I'm not even saying you should play all of it. So what am I saying exactly? Well, this game is an excellent looter shooter with decent light story elements, and it's still getting a lot of content. And unlike the previous game, the bullet sponginess isn't really that bad. One thing to take into consideration is that this game plays extremely smoothly. Little things like the impressively snappy cover system make the tactical aspects of the game shine. Most importantly, this is an excellent co-op game that you can play with up to 4 of your friends online and even has shared progression. I mean, I get it, it's Ubisoft, but if you buy the game on Steam, you don't have to deal with Uplay. Oh, by the way, did you guys know there's also a Division Netflix series coming out with Jake Gyllenhaal? So yeah, with that and the fact that they're still making content and upcoming seasons for this game and another huge DLC, now's a great time to get into this game. Number 4, World War Z. We understand fully World War Z is not an epic single-player game. It's got about 12 missions and a pretty dumb story. Well, I mean, it's not that bad. But guess what? This game knows what it is, and it is not about the story. It's about teaming up with your squad and killing hordes and hordes of zombies in some of the most satisfying co-op missions we have ever played in a co-op game. The worst part of World War Z is that it needs more content. But now that when you buy the game, you are getting all the missions, it's absolutely worth the price of admission, because this game is just pure fun. Like, it's so much fun. The ability to change from third person to first person with a click of a button in the menu really switches up how the game is played. The guns and the melee, it all just feels so crunchy as hell, and the loop of upgrading your guns feels satisfying. I mean, some guns are definitely a little OP, but all of the guns feel like at least viable options for mowing down zombies. And the game has some pretty incredible surprises with how tactical it can get. Honestly, we cannot recommend this game enough. Even if you are not typically into this sort of thing, seriously. If there were more expansions, this game could easily be in the top 3. And for some people, it might even be their number 1 or possibly number 2. Number 3. Divinity Original Sin series. Okay, so just like Gears of War, we covered the Divinity Original Sin series since it can be either played in online or offline co-op. We really wanted to give Larian their flowers for the game that allowed Baldur's Gate 3 to happen, and it has really been wonderful seeing this studio's journey over the years. We may need to do a developer-focused video, but spoiler alert, we think Larian may actually be the GOAT here. So again, if you want to see an in-depth look where we spotlighted this game in our offline co-ops games list and have this game as our number 1, you can click here. But here's the quick and dirty version. If you don't know about this game, or maybe you have seen it but haven't played it because you don't know how you feel about the turn-based RPG genre, well, maybe ask somebody you know who has played this game and if they would still recommend it for you. And I mean you personally. But at the end of the day, that doesn't matter because we definitely still recommend you check out this massive game. It is quantifiably one of the best character-based RPGs of all time, and that is absolutely not an exaggeration. Number 2, Baldur's Gate 3. This game is epic. And the only reason it's not number 1 is because it's in some ways too big of a game for us to just recommend everyone and anyone play, since not everyone is going to be able to commit to it. Here's the thing though, even if you don't finish this massive up to 4-person online 5th edition D&D simulator, you should still try it, even if you're on the fence. Especially if you are the kind of person who likes to try to break the game by playing it your own way. What makes this game feel so damn special is that you really will have a different experience than someone else who plays the game. And that is pretty cliche to say in the games industry, and usually is not the case, but not this time. In fact, that was the main objective when they made this game, and they deliver. Now, if you have been living under a rock and don't know what this game is, then here's the basics. Baldur's Gate 3 is a turn-based open-world character RPG similar to a Divinity Original Sin. If you're not familiar and you're a little bit more mainstream, then think of the Dungeons & Dragons movie with Chris Pine and Regé-Jean Page. This game takes place in that same universe, but Baldur's Gate 3 expands the systems that the Divinity Original Sin series tried to streamline. In some ways, this sounds like work. And we are not gonna lie here, this game takes some effort. You have to create a character and create a deity in one of the most in-depth character creation systems we have ever seen in an RPG, so it may take some time before you even get into the game. Now, this is the factor that stops most people from playing the game, but if you decide to commit and clear your entire game's library schedule for this one, because wow, the level of detail in everything from your inventory management, crafting systems, combat systems, incredible storylines. I mean, this game has 174 hours of cutscenes and over 17,000 permutations for different endings. Best of all, you get what you pay for, and the game is finished. No DLC or season passes because the devs couldn't get it out the door on time. They actually released it a month early, funny enough. And there's no microtransactions that plague the industry whatsoever. The devs simply have the most real passion for the industry, and oh boy does it show. And what I would say here is take your time with this game. You will be rewarded even more so if you do. Don't try to speedrun it. Don't try to just get to the next game on your list. Take your time. You'll enjoy it. It's a masterpiece. Number 1. Remnant 2. I'm declaring it right now. At the time of making this video, this is the best pick up and play co-op game of all time. If you know of anything better, let me know in the comments. But seriously, even if you're wrong, I'd love for you to try to tell me something that even comes close. But before you do, because I think I know where your head is, remember, I told you to stay till the end of the video. Okay, so I just beat Remnant 2, and I was actually a little disappointed. So why the hell is this at number 1? Well, I got to the end of the game in co-op, and it just felt like it was missing a lot of content. Like, there was only 2 sets of armor we found, and we didn't find a whole lot of weapons either, and let me explain. For context, I played the original to death, so I knew I should start on easy mode and progressively turn up the difficulty. So I think the story is like maybe 20% of the actual game, if that, because once we set the game to adventure mode and upped the difficulty, our progression really took a nosedive, and the game got a lot more challenging and fun. Like, this game is fun. The game is procedurally generated in the adventure mode, and this is probably the single best implementation of a procedural system I have ever seen. Nothing feels quote-unquote generated. The quality of level design looks just as handcrafted, if not more so than in the story mode, and this game shines because of it. Not to mention, the game has a ton of secrets. Hell, even your character classes, known in the game as archetypes, have a lot to discover. In fact, there's actually more secret archetypes than there are starting archetypes. And so this game does this weird thing where you think, oh, I beat the game, and then you realize you haven't even scratched the surface, and that the story mode is basically just the tutorial, and that you probably missed a ton of content on your first playthrough. Combat is very responsive, and while punishing, it is still pretty fair. I will say pretty fair, not completely fair, because at times the game can spawn a random enemy behind you and one-shot you, but that's pretty rare, and it usually only happens for a specific reason. The game is also great for creating endless builds for your character, and you will notice your character evolve many times due to the ingenious progression system of trait points, rings, amulets, and abilities. But what makes this game number 1 isn't its excellent visuals, it's how fun the actual gameplay is. You will laugh, you will scream at the TV or your monitor, and you will love and hate this game. Like I said before, I cannot think of a better co-op game in existence today. Play this game. Honorable mention. Elden Ring. You probably guessed this one if you were a true gamer, but I'm sorry if I offend. No, actually I'm not. Elden Ring is a great game, not a great co-op game. And I am just going to ignore the desync issues, the fact that you need to mod the game just so that you can even play co-op. Otherwise, you're going to be collecting a bunch of resources over and over again, because From Software have become so up their own asses, they prefer difficulty and challenge over fun and accessibility. But the real kicker here is that not only is the whole game not fully co-op, since certain bosses require you to use the horse, but because in order to even travel around in the game with a party of 1 or 2 people, you need to have your friends momentarily drop out while you ride your horse to the next location, then resummon them into the game, all because they didn't want 3 people to use a horse at the same time? What the actual fuck, From Software? Please, subscribe if you liked this video, because look, Elden Ring is a fantastic game, but it's not a co-op game. As much as we all love this game, we have to admit that the co-op was an afterthought in its development, so it gets an honorable mention here. And if you want to know about some real local campaign co-op experiences, make sure you click on this video before it gets destroyed by a flaming horde of Hidetaka Miyazaki fanboys rolling in for saying Elden Ring isn't a co-op game.
Rise with us against the Earth Tree.
Never met someone with a taste for brawn or contrition. We'd make good mates around.